And, I remember them talking about back then that, the frog should, you know, I don't know whether they said it should be on the ground, but it was all about how there should be weight somewhere in there where
Mm-hmm.
that helped the circulation in the foot. That
See,
the frog should get to the ground in order
yeah,
for. So even back then,
yeah, it's just a big fat lie, you know?
yeah.
It is a big fat lie. Um, I start to think that every single thing you're going to find is false, you know?
Yeah. I did talk to my friend's farrier. Her horse has a crack. All right. No, you can't do that. Well,
What
the
is
dog,
that?
the dog with the squeaky
With his
toy.
squeaky toy? That's really funny.
um,
Ah,
um, so he has a crack up the front of one of his front feet. He had it when she got him. It got better with the farrier that she's using, but then it came back. And so
uh-huh.
I got brave one day when I got him up for the farrier for her and said, okay, so I've, started talking about following you and everything on Facebook and YouTube and everything. And so I said, let's question observation. And so I was trying to be very non-threatening. And he's a pretty good guy, and he's more respectful of women than a lot of them are.
Uh-huh.
And so the horse's foot, his toe quarters were too long, and that's where he had the crack in his toe. And so I
Ah,
explained that to him and everything. And he said, well, the foot should be round. And I'm looking at the horse's foot and I go, but I didn't say this to him because I didn't want to be threatening what
hmm.
he does. I'm looking at the foot. It's not round. The front of the foot is square.
Yeah.
And so the foot is not round. But he was great because we talked back and forth and he said what he thought. And I said,
Hmm.
this is kind of what I'm understanding. And he was great. He did um, shorten the toe quarters,
Uh-huh.
and the foot already, the coronary band already looks better. So if I
Good.
can keep
Yeah.
him doing that, and we can see that crack start to grow out, then maybe he can see. So
Yeah, that'll be
that
great.
makes a difference. The horse has got a flare on his back foot that I told my friend, I said, I didn't want to throw too much at him at one time. So we
Yeah,
start with
no
one
kidding.
thing and see if we can, but he asked about you and everything. And so I sent him, he's not on Facebook, but I sent him the link to your YouTube channel. So I planted a seed anyway.
Well, good. Good, you know. I mean, it can't be easy to have done something your whole life. Well, in fact, I know it's not just from the experiences I've had where I thought one way for a long time about something only to find out that it was not correct.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have this profession of strong, pretty much. I mean, there's lot of women farriers too, but primarily it was a man's profession, you know? And a lot of what men are and do is tied up in what their job,
Yeah.
you know, and so that kind of makes it worse to know. But you know what? We're just gonna hope that somehow we'll be able to uh, get this together enough to be able to, like you say, plant seeds in people,
Yeah.
you know, and move them in a different direction and open their eyes. That's what I'm hoping for,
Well,
you know.
you with my pony's feet, we looked at the difference from where I started him and what he looked like, and you put those two pictures together,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, and saw we could really see the difference. My farrier came. He's still doing my other two horses, and I showed that picture to him, and he was like totally unimpressed.
Uh-huh.
Like he's just looking at it, going, "Okay." And I'm like, so
Yeah.
I'm pointing out, like, look at the difference. It lost the bull
Mhm.
nose, the inflammation is gone, the color of
Yeah.
the foot already changed color, the heel's already starting to move back. And I said, this is like just over a month's time. And he still, but I gave him, I said, here's who you need to look up on Facebook. And
Yeah,
to
he
go to
probably won't.
YouTube.
I'm going to tell you that
I
right.
know, but he used to long time
Yeah.
ago. mean, he used to like get into all this kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
He would have been all over that, and now no.
Now he's just kind of, yeah. Well, you never know. They
Yeah,
might, you know,
yeah, it
and
could.
stuff. And I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like whatever your name is, God
yeah,
bless you. And I hope that we have found out something here that'll bless you, help you, and just in case he was here watching this. And we're not against farriers,
uh,
you know. Uh, we just want to do research and open people's eyes to some of the things that the errors that have been taught that we've inherited over the centuries. You
yeah,
know, these guys are doing the best that they can with the knowledge that's been given to them, and they don't know where some of these beliefs come from. People just assume that because, your mentor or the person you apprenticed under or the school you went to, obviously because they have a school, they knew what they were talking about. Obviously because they seem to do it all their life, they know what they're talking about. But the fact of the matter is that there have been big problems within in regards to horses' feet. Big horses have a lot of problems, and farriers know this, and a lot of times the reasons that are given are not the true reason for why the horse is having the problem. The reason the horse is having the problem is because what they have been taught in regards to the anatomy. Maybe we'll talk about that today as far as the sole of the foot and how incorrect it is in the veterinary profession, how they do not understand or know the true anatomy of the sole. Isn't that the foundation of everything?
yeah,
You know? So if you're off on your anatomy, then whatever you determine, how you practice, how you trim the foot and prepare it, it's going to be off too. And
yeah,
so that would gradually over time lead to hoof distortion, which leads to disease. And hoof distortion, of course, leads to less lack of function, proper function in the foot. But it's so slow and gradual that and the damage sometimes shows up in other places besides the foot
yeah,
that people don't realize that's where it's coming from, But we have, like me, I have 18 years worth of photographs on the same horses doing different trims, showing what their feet morph into, and because
yeah,
I live with them, I know exactly how they behaved and how they felt and
yeah,
everything like that. And so, it's pretty cool that uh got all these women and some men too, but it's mostly women, if you haven't noticed,
yeah,
that are really got into trimming their own horses due to the fact that they were having all these problems to begin with.
yep,
And barefoot trimming did not help. Natural hoof care
nope,
seemed to just exacerbated the problem, but they'll never talk about all the people that got problems because of that. You never hear that. All you hear is temporary success stories. And then you
yeah,
don't know what happened to that horse as time went on because you never hear about that. They say, look at these bad feet and we rehabbed them. Well, I want to see them 5, 6, 7 years down the line.
yeah,
Did they stay rehabbed or did they go past that point? You know, because that happens to a lot of horses. Yeah, they'll get better and then they get worse. And then
yep,
that gets blamed on anything and everything but the trim. So,
yep,
okay, well, so anyway, I wanted to show a couple things if I can remember what they were now. I got these funky glasses on so that I don't get eye damage from the screen. I can't stand them. I'm going to take them on. I'd rather have eye damage, okay? So, Leslie Emery, I talked to him this week. Isn't that funny? I thought he was dead. I thought he was just a super old geezer that was probably dead, right? And so he he has invented a lot of stuff. There's this here, I'll show you some stuff here. Just a second here. Let me get, let's see where I'm at. He invented some stuff and the lady sells it. Let's see here. Man, I'm lost. Okay, well, let's start here and then we'll go to Leslie Emery. Just a second here. New share. I thought I was sharing that. Was I sharing that? Just a minute here. New share. Okay, so let's see here. Wait a second. Before I do that, let's do this. Fair use notification. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I'd like to read this fair use notice. Due to the social nature of this site, this channel may make use of copyrighted material, the use of which has not always been specifically authorized by the copyright owner. Its application constitutes a fair use of any such copyrighted material as provided for in Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Law in accordance with Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107. The material on this channel is offered publicly and without profit to the users of the internet for comment and nonprofit educational informational purposes. The following work is intended to be shared, is free, and is only for educational purposes. Okay, so there's the disclaimer. Now, we're going to talk about Leslie Emery, who wrote this book right here that doesn't seem to be wanting to come up on my internet archive for some reason. Horseshoeing Theory and Hoof Care, that was published in 1977. Now, as let's see. Okay, so you can see as I change screens, it's changing. Are you seeing me change screens by any chance? Like when I go here, there's the Zoom,
Yeah,
there's the
yeah.
Facebook, there's the Nook.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I need to close this one because it's not working. So let me go back here. Okay, well, let's go to I want to show you some stuff today. I want to show you some stuff in this first hour about the barefoot movement. Now, has everybody heard that term, the barefoot movement? Of course, there's only what, 4 of us here.
Yeah, but I think most of us have probably heard of it.
Okay, by the way, who is here? Hi, Monica. Hi, Marilyn. Kathy and me. All right. Okay. Okay, so yeah, the barefoot movement. I'm going to show you something on that. So you're just gonna have to hold on here just a second while I get stuff up. Got to get my Google Docs up. Google Docs. Okay. Okay. Just a second here. Of course, I forgot my phone somewhere. Okay. Just a minute here. Dear Mister. Nope. Try to remember where I put it now. Let's see. Hmm. Maybe it's this one. Okay, that's not it. I have a listing here somewhere. Maybe it's here of okay, here we go. Jackson's interview of two deals, one on the Horse's Hoof magazine. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but what they did, I should have looked up before we did this. What it is a timeline. Oh, here we go. Timeline on the natural hoof care movement and its development in America by, do you see this on your page?
Yep.
Okay. By Jamie Jackson. This is 2006, as published in issue 3, spring 2001. How can that be? Of the Horse's Hoof. How can it be copyrighted in 2006 when it's published in spring of 2001? Could somebody explain that to me?
Maybe he didn't copyright it until later.
Maybe. Could be. All right. Well, here we go. In 1988, I don't know. I might not have put the big. I know there was more to that than this. I thought. Maybe not. Okay, so okay, he claims to have done his research from 1982 to 1986. Okay. Now, I know, here we go. Let's go over here. Here is his book right here. He says right here, and he talks about becoming a farrier. He started shoeing his own horses. This is the natural horse. This is, I think, the 2020 edition. It's okay. He had the 1992 edition, the 1997 edition. This is 2020 edition. And I've got all three of these books, in person over here. But anyway, so he says, I want to read you this. He says, he said he never heard about America's free roaming wild horses. But after 5 years or so of shoeing client horses, the US government began to adopt them out around the country. And that's when they heard that Mustangs were going for a cheap price. All right. He said, one doesn't have to shoe horses very long before you begin to experience problems with their hooves. They all say this. I began to study up on what I thought I was looking at, question other farriers and see what veterinarians had to say. I'll make a long story short. No one agreed about anything. Euthanasia was a common way of dealing with problem feet, which I witnessed time and time again at sale barns. Information on hoof pathology was scarce in those days. And when things got really bad, the final word on what to do usually came from the vet. See, who knew that all this was a worldwide epidemical problem, right? We just thought our horse dealers knew what they were doing. And of course, what owners get together to compare notes, right? No, you couldn't back then. So it says, at least when the horse's owner was done with whatever their farrier recommended, it seemed that if the horse could no longer be ridden, then it was a liability and quietly trailered off to the killer barn where agents for pet food or tallow horses would pay for them. Here we go. In 1977, a client passed me a book called Horseshoeing Theory and Hoof Care, written by 2 farriers and an equine vet. Early in the book, the authors mentioned the wild horse and its important model for hoof care, but none of them had actually studied the hooves of wild horses. Instead, they speculated and came up with a shoeing method that purportedly correlated shoulder and hip angles with front and hind hoof angles, respectively. It sounded good, but unfortunately it failed. So I learned later it didn't actually comport with what a wild horse hoof was all about. Yeah, well, but we already know that his idea of wild horse foot is wrong. Okay, so he made friends with Leslie Emery. Okay, So now let's go back to this sometime before he did before he went to Wild Horse Country, as he says it. Okay, somehow from reading Leslie Emery's book, he made friends, close friends with Leslie Emery. And in the acknowledgments, he's in the acknowledgments of the first two editions of the book and not in the third one, but still. And then, of course, we've seen the video where he's talking, he relates the story of talking to Leslie Emery. Okay. So he says, okay, well, wait a minute. I don't know why I put that there. I think I put that there. We're going to go to 1976. Okay. I think this was my note that I put up here. Okay. I probably screwed that up there. Okay. So this was a note from 1988 down here. See it right there? Okay. So this was just my note. And then I put the whole deal of the barefoot hoof care movement. So in 1976, Les Emery, Jim Miller, and Niles Van Heusen, DVM, published the book Horseshoeing Theory and Hoof Care. This work speculates on the natural hoof. They do. They talk about wild horse feet in there and how more research should be done. The natural hoof shape based on domestic range horses in eastern Oregon. Means that just means they're domestic horses, but they're raised the same way and live the same way the wild horses do, and so they develop the same kind of feet. Same as the people who owned the ranch I knew in Wyoming on the Red Desert, how their horses ran with the wild horses. They all had the same kind of feet. So it says, okay, here we go. See, I only read through this once. Okay. It says the focus of the book is on navicular, however, using an elevated heel model thought to be natural, the elevated heel model. So Leslie Emery's book promoted this. And now I bought the book as well as you can look at it online and Internet Archive. And Kathy here just said she also bought the book, and we have looked at it, and the heels on the horses in the book are high, okay, comparatively speaking. They're not high. They're anatomically correct. They're where they should be. Okay. So it says focus of the book is on navicular, however, using an elevated heel. Well, they're not elevated. That is actually, as we know, the height the feet should be. And we'll look at a picture of it here pretty soon. Thought to be natural for orthopedic shoeing. Now, those guys didn't really know the truth about heel height, but Emery was headed in that direction. Okay, so it says in 1976, Jackson contacts Emery the same year and discusses the meaning of natural hoof. Okay, so they got to know each other in 1976. But as yet, there was no discussion of wild horses or wild horse feet. Okay, also in 1976, Wild Horse Annie dies of cancer, embittered over treatment of wild horses by BLM. From 78 to 71, from 1978, well, that's screwed up. I don't know. Anyway, he just talks about legislation with the passage of public rangelands improvements. This is the last legislation passed to date that amends the Wild Horse Annie Act. Now, you need to know that where they call it public rangeland, that's just to delude and deceive you into thinking that it's public land and they're taking care of it for you, the American people, and that it belongs to you. That is the farthest thing from what these people at BLM really think. And the environmentalists that run all of the federal lands in the United States, they do not think it is public land. they want to get rid of the wild horses, and then they want to get rid of the rancher, and they pit the wild horse people against the ranchers. They blame the wanting to get rid of the wild horses on the ranchers, but it's not the ranchers, it's BLM, and it's the environmentalists that run BLM that want to get rid of the wild horses. I did research on this 10 years ago to find this out, and I was very distressed over it, that we have nonprofit environmentalist groups making policies for our government agencies. That's where all this comes from. So anyway, you just need to know that these people don't consider that your land, people. Okay, that's federal land, and they not only want the rancher off of it, they want you off of it too, you know. So anyway, that's just on a sideline, something you need to know. All right, so it says in 1982, Jackson moves to California to shoe horses in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you're listening, this is how the barefoot movement, natural hoof care movement began. And this is in an article of The Horse's Hoof. Anyway, okay. That came out in 2001. I might have wrote that down wrong myself. I don't know. But anyway, so in 1982, Jackson moves to California to shoe horses in the San Francisco Bay Area. One of his clients purchases a Mustang mare, from the BLM. Jackson is astounded by its hooves and contacts Emory. I think I'm onto something. 2 weeks later, Jackson enters central Nevada to observe wild horses for the first time on public lands. All right. Yeah, it's not public lands, people. Again, federal. All right. By now, the Reagan administration is in place and encourages the BLM and the United States Forest Service to begin gathers of excessive wild horse in public rangelands, whatever. 1983, Jackson conducts first study of wild horse hooves at Litchfield, California. Does not publish findings, discusses results with Emory, who encourages further investigation. Okay, we're going to stop there for a second because I'm going to again show you a tape of him. Just a minute here. Let me look it up. We're going to look at this conversation he had there. Just a second here. Let's see. Jamie Jackson, hooves. There we go. Here it is. Hold on. New share. Okay. Share sound. Optimized for video clip. Okay, now he is talking to Leslie Emory here. So now you have more of a background that they have had this relationship for a while. Now before I play this, so wait a second here. Before I play this, I want to show you a picture of the feet in Emory's book. Okay, now we're coming from the background of how these vet schools over in France and England have been pushing low heel frog pressure for centuries, and from a background of knowing from Bracy Clark how this had a devastating effect on horses. And so what you have in Leslie Emory's book is probably one of the next to Bracy Clark, and Emory didn't even really know much about Bracy Clark. Here's the thing. Next to Bracy Clark is the person who has written the most on that issue and how detrimental it was. So let's see here. Let's see, I need to log in. So you can go to the Internet Archive. I logged in. Come on, log in. There we go. You can go to the Internet Archive and you can get this book. So you just go over here and you would type in Leslie and horse shoeing. Hope I spelled that right. Probably didn't. Of course not. Horses. HORSESHOE.
That's right.
I had an I in there.
Yeah, you had.
Oh, horse. Well, let's just do Leslie Emery. Okay, there it is. Oh, yeah, okay. Now, see, I can get this book anytime, but for some reason, I'm having a hard time getting it now. Isn't that weird? What a bunch of baloney. I do not understand that. So I'm going to try it under a different, hold on here. Just a second. Let's try it under something else. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Because you got to see this picture in Leslie Emery's book, what he thought Pete should be like. So let's see here. What am I looking at here? A second. Okay, I see what's going on. Let's try it again. That's the wrong deal. Wait a minute. My computer is just not wanting to do what it's supposed to. Leslieemery. Now, you're going to find it really interesting. Now, see, it's just not loading for me, and I don't know why. Okay, well, we'll skip that for now. The one thing I could do is take a picture. I sent a picture to somebody the other day about what that foot looks like. Just a second here. Let me get the book and I'll take a picture and then I'll post it in Messenger because this thing is not working out. So, just a second. Yeah, you're going to be surprised. Oh, just a second. I got to get my camera. Thank you. Okay. Take a picture. It'll last longer. Okay. Now, let's see here. Now, go to Messenger. And now, let's see. Let's see. Okay, hold on here a second. Well, I guess I'll just close that. Yep, sorry to make you look at the dark here. This dark screen. Just a minute here, and I'm going to Facebook to get this picture off a messenger. Da, 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 da. Oh, of course, they want that code you put in. God. Okay, now share this. Okay, do you see that? Anybody there?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, look at the heels. Look at the cartilage on that horse there. So this is what he was advocating at the time, and this book became very popular. Okay, so popular, in fact, that we're going to go back to here. Okay, so we've seen that Jackson, after he read the book, called Emery and developed this relationship with him. Okay, but as yet he had not seen any wild horse feet. Okay, now, knowing this background, knowing what Emery promoted, knowing also, see, I can't show you the part of his book there that talks about frog pressure theory, but it's numerous pages, at least 10 pages. And it's in the chapter that's titled, just a minute here, it's about hoof distortion and how it causes hoof distortion. Just a second. Okay, and so Emery was really involved in navicular lameness, and I'm going to tell you right now, navicular is caused from trimming out the heels. Okay, so in his chapter titled Conditions and Practices Responsible for Unnatural Hoof Shape. Okay, so I haven't read all of it yet, but when you get in there a few pages, where is it? God. Where are you here? Just a minute. Look at the 107. Remember that. 107. Okay, on 107, that's right in just a page or two into conditions causing unnatural hoof shape. He has the frog pressure theory title. And he says, of the theories and practices that directly encourage an unnaturally shaped hoof, the major one is frog pressure theory. This concept of the function and importance of the frog, of the hoof, dates back to the second half of the 19th century. Well, he's wrong about that. It actually dates back to the 18th, to the second half of the 18th century, because it was in the 1700s. Okay, apparently it was developed by someone in one of the important veterinary academies at the time. Well, it was developed by Philip Lafosse. It was adopted by the French veterinary clinic, and the guy that not clinic, veterinary school, but the guy that ran it, Bougelier, he didn't like he did everything he did to discredit LaFosse, probably out of jealousy. That's the way these people are. Soon it was adopted by theorists. Since then, it has been used in nearly every book dealing with horseshoeing. And so, how many pages does he have on this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 or 13 pages in this book in regards to frog pressure theory. And here's the thing about frog pressure theory. Frog pressure theory always has you lower the heels to obtain frog pressure. So okay, so you've seen the picture. Again, let me get over there. You've seen the picture of what he advocates and what is in his mind. And he has never been out there with those wild horses, right? But the first person Jackson calls when he gets out of the corrals at Litchfield, and he wasn't in there really doing he didn't do any examinations, not really. Okay, because the story is that he got in there and realized that he didn't really have any tools that he needed, supposedly. And so he went to town and bought some plastic signs from a hardware store and developed his famous hoof meter reader. I bought one for $20 just so I'd have one. It's like ridiculous, but anyway, it's let me see if I can find you one so you know what it looks like. He said he had to go develop this. He told the Wranglers he was good at math. He said he's good at math. And I want you to remember that he said he was good at math because it's going to come into play later when you examine the drawings that he did to try and prove his theory. So anyway, he had to run to town, he said, and figure out how he was going to examine these feet. And so let's go over here to YouTube. I won't show you the hoof meter reader. It's a little paper thing. Okay. Anyway, so this is Jackson again. He's calling Emery right after he gets, hey, Levi, just a minute. Okay, I had to get all the power because for some reason nothing's working. Oh, wait, there it is. It's working. Okay, so here we have Jackson. Just a minute. Now, remember, he's talking to Leslie Emery.
We lost it all, Linda. We don't have any audio. Now we can see that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
That was so weird. I could not find the screen anywhere. It had just disappeared on me. Anyway, sorry about that. So whoever, you're gonna have to fast forward through that part, I suppose. Now, where okay, so I was talking about Leslie Emery and how how he advocated, well, now wherever that picture went, he advocated, you saw the picture of the long heel that he advocated, right? And
Yeah.
so then he was in close communication and confidence with Jackson. And so Jackson, as soon as he got out of the corrals, he was supposed to call Emery and tell him what he saw. Okay, so you got to realize that he was just in there. He wasn't in there very long because he says that he had to go to town and make his hoof meter reader, that he got in there and he realized he didn't think he had the tools to do what he was supposed to do. And so he told the wranglers he was going to have to go to town and get some stuff. In the meanwhile, he's just in there for not a very long period of time. And he comes out and he calls Emery. And so then we're going to just look again at what he tells Emery. Let's see. Okay, do you see that screen?
It's black.
Okay, just a second here. New share. Let me optimize it for video. Okay, here we go. Wait a minute. Back it up. Now, see, this again, I want to remind you that this actual clip here is clear over here somewhere. It's not, and for some reason, why, who knows, he himself, Jackson, took this little clip out here and he puts it clear over here at the beginning. How weird is that?
I said they got no heels. At that, I didn't understand exactly how the heels were conformed, but the flat
they got no heels. I didn't understand exactly how the heels were conformed. Yeah, because I don't know if I've shown you how when I can understand how he might come to the conclusion they didn't have any heels. Because on those horses, a lot of times the frog skin and periopal skin cover the whole back of the heel all the way down. You can have 2-inch heels, okay? Or, well, whatever, from the collateral groove down 1.25 inches or more, but it's filled up and covered over with periopal, so it does not look like the horses have heels. It doesn't look like what Emery shows in his book. Just a minute. Let me go back there. I don't know what happened to my Facebook page. It does not, they do not look like what Emery shows in his book. Like if you look here, you'll see that the bulb skin is not, and the frog is not attached to heels on this horse. And I'll show you some others, just a second here. In this book, I don't see any in this book where, let's see here, where you see the frog skin attached to the heels like you do in these wild horses. Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get another picture here from the book. Stupid lamp shining on it. Let me get it over here. Okay. Okay, you see this, the back of this foot here?
Yep.
See the heels? This is what they're used to seeing because they don't understand how the back of this foot is configured. And you don't usually see on these foot what you will see on a wild horse foot, where the periopal skin and frog, it is all attached to the heel all the way down to here. And so that skin covers all this up, but they will have heels this high. So you don't see that. So he goes into the corrals. He's used to thinking about heels like this. See? And what does he find? He finds it doesn't look like they have heels, just like that wild horse hoof of Pete Ramey's. When you look at it, it looks like it has just a little bit of heel down here. But the truth of the matter is, when that foot is dissected, you see that he has heel, this much heel. Okay, so he calls Emery and he tells him this stuff. Let's go back to there. Let's listen to it again. Imagine him telling this guy is anxious, waiting to hear, right? You know what he means by the angle is the dorsal wall angle. Okay, because farriers have hoof gauges, they're always measuring, and that's been the big deal for centuries. What should the dorsal wall angle be? And so they would lower or higher heels depending on the doctrine. Like at one time, they had some sort of ridiculous angle at like 45, 25 degrees. I don't know. But they've always been arguing over that. And so that is what Emery is asking him. You still don't. So he assumed these horses had no heels from the get-go. And so now let's go back to the timeline here. Okay, so here's the timeline again. Okay, here it is. 1983. Jackson conducts his first study of wild horse hooves at
New
Litchfield.
share, Linda?
Oh, yes. There we go. Jackson conducts his first study of wild horse hooves at Litchfield, California. Does not publish finding. Discusses results with Emery, who encourages further investigation. Okay, so 1983, Jackson returns to wild horse country to observe horses in various horse management or herd management areas. That's what BLM calls them. Okay, 1984, Jackson conducts second survey of wild horse hooves at Litchfield, continues visits to wild horse country to observe behavior and environment, becomes aware for the first time of wild horse protection groups and government biologists studying Mustang population control. 1985, Jackson decides to write a 20-page statistical paper on his hoof study. Approximately 1,000 hooves is sampled at Litchfield Holding Center with Emery's encouragement. Now, remember, when did he write this? I'm going to have to find out again. 2006. Okay? because in his book in 19, both the one in 19, and this is for the horse's hoof, so this is a magazine. In his book in 1992 and 97, he said he only did 107 horses there. And so 107 horses times 4. What is that? 400 and
428.
boy, you're good. 428 horses. And then by the time he gets up into his 2020 book, he's saying he did 1,000 feet. Now, how that differentiate, and you got to remember, there is not one photo of any of these feet. He specifically declares in his book that he thoroughly examined, measured, and photographed in the first book's 107. In the last, and then here, he claims to do 1,000. And the thing about it is, what they say here? Where is it? Where was that? Okay. 1985, Jackson decides to write a 20-page statistical paper on hoof study, approximately 1,000 hooves sampled at Litchfield Holding Center, with Emery's encouragement. Offer his findings to various equine experts. Letters were sent to Dr. Chris Pollitt, Dr. Rick Redden, Dr. Deb Bennett, Dr. Doug Butler, and the current president of the American Association of Equine Practitioners. There was no response except Dr. Butler by phone, who thought the information might be meaningful. 1987, Jackson expands research paper to 100 pages and submits a manuscript to over 100 publishing houses, none accept. 1988, here we go. Emery accepts invitation to speak because his book was getting popular. Emery accepts an invitation to speak before the American Farriers Association National Convention at Lexington, Kentucky. He accepts contingent upon Jackson being invited as co-speaker. Jackson and Emery jointly present Jackson's research before 1,000 farriers. Now, I'm going to tell you that what happened was that Jackson, with the stuff he claimed, and he told Emery, he waylaid Emery's actual research. And so he prevented Emery from continuing on in his own research to prove that the theory of frog pressure was wrong and that horses needed to have heels. That is what Jackson did with his claims that horses have no heels. Okay, so in 1990, Jackson reworks his technical research paper into a new manuscript, which is accepted by Northland Publishing. Jackson returns to Arkansas, which is really funny too, because I can't remember the name of the town he lives in, but it's the most racist town in America. Is that not funny? I was talking about this one day to somebody on the phone of where he lives there in Arkansas. And my son was going over, he goes, he lives where? Who are you talking about? Who do you know that lives there? And I said, well, I kind of explained it to him a bit. He goes, don't you know that that's the most racist town in America? And he shows me this video, and I guess it was some black guy standing out on a corner there with a Black Lives Matter sign. And I mean, everybody was coming by and really giving that guy a bad time. But anyway, it's known as the most racist town in America. And I just thought that was hilarious. I'm not saying he's racist or nothing. I'm just saying that town where he lives is known for that. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, okay, so where are we at here? Okay. Okay, Jackson returns to Arkansas. In 1992, the book came out, The Natural Horse, where he said he did just 107 horses, over 100 horses, 107. That's what he claimed in that book and in the 1997 book. Okay, now this is another timeline that he wrote. Okay, now I haven't gone through the whole thing to see how it differs from the one we just looked at, but this part here, I want to show you. 1988, Emory accepts an invitation to speak before the American Farriers Association National Convention at Lexington, Kentucky. He accepts contingent upon Jackson's being invited as a co-speaker. Jackson and Emory jointly present Jackson's research before 1,000 farriers. Yeah, too bad. Okay, now let's go down here and look at 1988 here and see what he said. Okay. Now, in this one, he puts 1986 and 87, farrier Gene Ovanek conducted a research study on the feet of feral wild horses. That wasn't in this one. You know why? Because he had no idea that Gene Ovanek was doing the same thing he was in Wyoming. He was in California, in Wyoming and Montana. He had no idea. But by the time this was printed, whenever he did this timeline, he added to it. So I'm going to go through these timelines very closely to see how he words things, because up here, what does it say? Emory accepts an invitation to speak before the American Farriers Association National Convention. He accepts contingent upon Jackson's being invited as a co-speaker. Okay, let's see how that changed. Les Emory and Jamie Jackson accept an invitation to speak before the American Farriers Association National Convention at Lexington, Kentucky, and jointly present Jackson's research before 1,000 farriers. Now, why did he remove that? They didn't want him there. They didn't want him there. They didn't invite him. Just a minute. It's getting hot in here. Now, don't you think that's weird that that changed like that? Or is that just me? See, why would he put it like that?
It gives him equal credit instead of Les Emory bringing him in.
That's right. That's right. See? Okay, so then he says Jackson publishes The Natural Horse, Lessons from the Wild for Domestic Horse Care. Then White Horse Farm in New Zealand was purchased, and Andy Beck begins controlled wild horse behavior research. 1988, Emory accepts, well, what did I, oh, this is just where I put the two together so you could compare. See, but I'm going to have to go through this to see what else he's kind of sliding in there that is different from the original timeline, you know? So what he did, he waylaid that research of Leslie Emory. Jackson advanced, and Emory kind of slid back into being less known, in other words. And so this false doctrine of frog pressure that could have, that Emory was onto, and probably his teachings would have gone all around the world and would have done so much to advance the horse and to get rid of all this false teaching that has been in farriery and in veterinary science for 270 plus years. Okay, instead, Jackson smooches in there and winds up taking the limelight away from Emory and then promoting his one dead wild horse that wore its heels down to the nubbin. And here you see that he never believed horses even had heels. Okay. He said they have no heels. Well, in his book, that's pretty much the way he pictures them. And like I said, how is it that you could supposedly thoroughly examine, measure, and photograph 1,000 feet, and yet there's not one photo of these feet in your first 3 editions of this same book? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So there's another place in here. Just a second here, if I can find it.
So did you say that you actually talked to Emery this week?
Oh, yes. Okay.
What
So,
did he have to say? What did you talk about?
well, all right. So I thought the guy was probably dead or something, and I thought maybe he was old at the time. Okay, but actually he wasn't old at all. He's only like 74. Okay. And so I don't know how old. I'm 68. So he ain't that much older than me. So what happened was I found out that he invented this horseshoe bending machine that is sold by a store in California called the Horseshoe Store. So that farriers don't have to use hammers and stuff. This thing he invented just bends those shoes just the way you want them. So I called this horseshoe store and talked to this gal named Janet to see if he was still alive. And oh my God, he was. And I tell you, I just about cried, you know. Um, I was so happy. And so she gave me his phone number. So I called him, and really a great guy. But I don't know how to explain that conversation. I told him some of what I was doing, and he told me a bunch of stuff and stuff, and he definitely got bit by the Jackson bug. That but he told me that barefoot didn't really work for him. Okay. And I mean, I kind of he told me, he said so much, it's like I don't even know where to start. But he thinks that the horse's foot, and now I'm beginning to understand some things I didn't understand before. Like one time I was watching Pete Ramey talk at a farriers convention, and he's showing pictures of some wild horses he took pictures of, and he says, yeah, as far as heel height, I kind of watch the horse move first to determine how I trim their heels. And man, I thought, man, this guy is like deluded. He is so full of it. I just couldn't understand that at all. And so then when I'm talking to Emery, okay, I'm kind of getting the same story from him, that the only way you can determine the horse forges its feet, like there's no standard anatomy to their feet, that they forge their feet by locomotion. They really like this word. I notice it's all over Jackson's book, locomotion. And so what they believe, okay, is that you can't have a true standard to the foot, that nature forms the foot in a magical, mystical way by the horse moving all over the place. That is what they believe. I mean, if you read Jackson's books, well, okay, to give you an example, the first one to introduce me to Gene Obenick's research was Rich Clark up in Montana. And I have since talked to Rich Clark, and that was in 96. I have since talked to him a number of times about these situations, and he was there at that Hoof conference when Jackson and Emery spoke. And I asked him, I said, well, what did you think about Jackson's talk? What did he talk about? He said, he said, I don't really recall. I just remember thinking this sounds like a religion. Okay. And so when you read Jackson's book, he is really, really, really into the nature gig. Okay. And he really keeps referring back to nature does this and nature does that and nature forms, and it's just a mystery and it's magical and who knows, but nature does it. It's nature. And so you can't pin them down like on anatomy. Not really. Not really. They believe that the coffin bone is ground parallel and that the bulb should be on the ground. Okay. And they use one dead wild horse's foot for the standard of what a foot should look like. And so I was talking to him and I kept talking about the anatomy and the true foot of the horse. And he got kind of upset with me. And he said, what do you mean true? What do you mean true? And I said, well, the anatomy, the true anatomy, things like that. He said, well, he said he just didn't think anything could be true on that. He said that what I was saying, get this, was dangerous. I mean, it about bowled me over, that he says, well, what you're saying is dangerous. And he told me that he had, he just believes this whole nature gig, that nature has designed the foot and you can't really tell. And he told me that he doesn't think that you can pin down the anatomy like what I think, and that my ideas are dangerous. That's what he told me. Bless his heart, he's a great guy, but when people get into this blaming everything on nature, that's not science. Now, one time, this book he wrote is very scientific, but he believed everything that Jamie Jackson told him. And so he told me he's written some other books and he has some manuscripts, but he's never published them. And get this, have you ever heard of the hoof radius rasp? Anybody?
Yeah.
And the sole rasp?
Yep.
He's the inventor. Isn't that amazing? He invented those. He invented those and he sells those. So, so I don't know. I told him that I would write him and send him some pictures, because I told him, look, I can't really explain to you on the phone everything I'm talking about, so I can see how it might seem to sound different. I said, all I can do is send you some pictures. So that's kind of where we ended it. Once people get something in their head, it's hard to get it out. Just like with me, that picture, that one dead picture, which, by the way, I got a picture of that. Just a second here, I'll show you. Where am I at here? Here we go. Okay, so here we go. Did I show you guys this before?
Yeah.
My
Yep.
notebook?
Yep.
See, that's the foot I tried to put on my horse for 7 years. So, once you get indoctrinated into these beliefs, and you don't know, if you don't know the truth to begin with. Now, Emery was everything I believe he was publishing in his book was on the road to truth. But then Jackson come in with his claims of research. And as far as I know, Emery never actually saw the hundreds of however many dissections Jackson claimed to do in that interview. You know, he claims to have not only had this set of feet, but like 30 more that he had freeze dried, but he's only got these 4 left. He makes a lot of claims that there is no real solid evidence for. If he took all these pictures, why could not he post some? Why is it that he never even saw this horse move? Yet they claim that these feet are all forged by locomotion. This sound, he makes a claim that this is off a sound wild horse. He never saw that horse move. The horse died in a roundup that, as far as I know, he was not present at. And so, whatever he did, he waylaid Leslie Emery's research, which was really valid and would have done a lot to end this frog pressure BS that has been crippling, maiming, laming, and killing horses. So, of course, if horses have no heels, and this is the quintessential natural foot that every horse should have, what are you going to do? You're going to keep lowering the heels down to gaining frog pressure. I mean, the two doctrines just went hand in hand, like a hand in a glove, like OJ's hand in his glove, and stuff. And so there's how all this got started. You see all these people on Facebook and all over the internet that got barefoot hoof trimming, barefoot hoof classes, natural hoof this, blah, blah, blah. All started here. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna send some stuff to him and see where he goes with that. I would like to see him finish his original research and get rid of these ideas that, like, I had to get rid of them out of my head to start seeing stuff, So anyway, okay. Well, that's your history lesson on the barefoot movement for today. What do you think of that? Any comments?
An interesting collaboration between the two. And like you said, I think Emery got railroaded.
I do too. Yep. And what's interesting is how in the first book, he cannot praise him enough. I'll read this to you. Just a second here. In the acknowledgments, let's see, that's 97. Here's this. So in the acknowledgments in the 1990, he says this: I wish to thank my dear friend Les Emery, a brave and brilliant thinker who rolled his sleeves up every inch of the way to help me deal persistently with the awesome and frightening paradoxes. See how he talks? That confronted me as I delved, listen to this garbage. Okay, as I delved deeper into the shadowy and strange ways of nature. Shakespeare wrote madness looms in that direction. Without Les's companionship and technical insights, I might never have found my way through it all as well as I did. So that's what he says about Les in the first book. Okay, now I'll read to you what he says about in the 1997 edition. And going back to remember that how he changed that little deal over them speaking at that farrier's commission. In 1997, he says, Mr. Leslie Emery, principal author of Horseshoeing Theory and Hoof Care, will forever be in close confidence. The Natural Horse undoubtedly would never have been written had it not been for Les's inspirational work as well as his input, both as a horse professional, philosopher, and friend. This book bears his indelible mark, so that's fine, He still, acknowledges him and pretty substantially, but it's still not as lavish as it was in the first book. Now, I'm just going to see what he says in the 2020 edition. By this time, Northland Publishing, he is not publishing this book. And preface, we got the preface here. Wait a minute. Okay, this is what he says. Now, I could be in error. All right, maybe he mentions him here by name somewhere else. Okay, at first I didn't think he mentioned him at all because there are no acknowledgments in this book in the same way there was in the other two. Here we got the preface to the 2020 edition. In this book, he says, in 1977, a client passed me a book called Horseshoeing Theory and Hoof Care, written by 2 farriers and an equine vet. Early in the book, the authors mentioned the wild horse and its important model for hoof care, but none of them had actually studied the hooves of wild horses. Instead, they speculated and came up with the shoeing method that purportedly correlated shoulder, hip, and angle, hind hoof angles, respectively. It sounded good, but unfortunately, it failed because, so I learned later, it didn't actually comport with the wild horse, with what the wild horse hoof is all about. But the authors did plant a seed in my mind concerning the possible viability of the wild horse as a model. Still, at this point in time, I personally had only heard about them, nothing direct. Okay, so, as I said, he could mention Emery in here, but that's all I found. And again, it's the same book. Well, other than the fact that he added that in this book he did 1,000 feet, and 250 horses. So, what do you say about stuff like that? Who knows? I guess we forget where we come from and who helps us over time. Who knows? Maybe he mentions him somewhere else in here. I don't know. But I just thought it interesting that the acknowledgments changed like that to where it became just 2 horseshoers and a vet wrote a book, And so thanks to Mr. Jackson, you and I are here today doing what we're doing. I tried to get that worn out, ugly foot on my horse for 7 years. And he never did transition because that foot wasn't meant to be on any horse living. That is an adaptation to overwear. That's what that foot is. That's all that foot is. An adaptation to overwear, which helps the horse survive. It is not the foot that horse was born with and meant to have. It is an adaptation from overwear, and that is it. So, research the researchers, you see. Research the researchers. It saddens me because Emery is brilliant. He's brilliant. All this stuff about nature, that's a religion. That's spirituality. Okay. Now, it's okay to believe in God. It's okay to be a spiritual person. Whatever you each their own. We're all going to find out in the end. Believe what you want. okay, I believe in God. You know, I believe in Jesus. I believe Jesus did all the miracles. You know, I believe people can be healed. I believe all kinds of stuff spiritually. But when it comes to feet, it has to be all material examination. It's not spiritual. It is material. And anatomy has to be a science, not spiritism, not nature worship. Okay? Nature, okay, how many plants are poisonous? How many things in nature can kill you? So don't come telling me that, oh, everything's got to be natural and nature's so great, because nature is a cruel, arbitrary shrew, and if you don't watch it, she'll kill you. See? So yeah, this is a natural foot in that this horse was probably old and lived through a number of droughts and wore his feet out. You know, could have been born in a drought and his feet developed like this from the get-go, but it wasn't meant to be that way. See? So anyway, I appreciate you let me share these things with you. Man, this book, I was impressed by how heavy it is. It is, they used the best paper. It is the most nicely printed book. It has just an excellent index in it, bibliography, glossary. It's just it was an excellent book, and it would have gone a long way were it not for this dude here. This dude right here. Yeah. So that, again, that's why you and I are all here today. That's why, and it's not just him, you know, because there's a big hole in Farriery that opened the door for his imagination to run wild on the mysteries of nature. See? And so who knows, you know, who knows what happened. We first went into those corrals and barely even got to really look at any hooves, consideringly, before he had to run to town and make his hoof meter reader. And he'd already made up his mind. They have no heels. They have no heels. Now, I'm going to have to show you this stuff, not today, but I'm going to have to show you this stuff he put in his book, his little drawings, where he defines his belief in what the foot should be, and how those drawings have been manipulated to prove his point that is false. Because see, he always said he was good with math. Well, I will show you how he used his good thing with math to manipulate the drawings to make it look like his theory was true when it wasn't. That, or else he may not have manipulated it on purpose, but the way he drew it, well, you'll just have to see it. They're just like totally screwed up. It's like, first of all, it's not real horses' feet. So you can't tell somebody that a horse's dorsal wall angle is determined by nature and by the bone and not by the heels. So we'll look at that when I do some more work on it. You know, I just don't agree with this research at all, not in any way, shape, or form. And I'd like to see some pictures of these feet. That's all that he supposedly did. That surely, even if he's a crappy photographer like he claims, surely he's got to have a few pictures, right? So anyway, okay. Well, now that I've raked him over the coals, now that I've raked his research over the coals, hey, He could be the nicest guy in the world. I don't know. But his research is not nice. And this picture right here, this puts a picture in people's heads that's totally false. And so to prove that, we're just going to go look at a couple wild horse feet here real quick. Let's see. And where would we do that? We would do that on our Facebook page. Let's see here. Where are you? Oh, I'm on that page. Okay, so see, here's the thing. At the time, let's see, new share. At the time that Gene Obenek and Jamie Jackson did their research, there were no pictures of wild horse feet. And here, let me tell you that Gene Obenek has a lot of pictures of wild horse feet. Okay, here, I'm going to show you some here real quick. If I can find them. Let's see, pictures. See, people don't often go back and research the researchers. How did they come to their conclusions? See, because when you do that, you often find that their conclusions were not correct and they were based on faulty reasoning and partial evidence. So let me see here. I think I have this under Jackson, H-I-J. Get into my file on him. Okay. Let's see, new share. See, this some of the pictures that he draws. Look at that. One's, it's not even the heel. Remember he said, what? Horses have no heels. Now in this book, he never said horses have no heels. He said all heel lengths were the same. Okay. And so when I first looked at this, I thought he meant, well, okay, they have a heel length of 1 centimeter. No, look at that. He's drawing a bulb on the ground, no heels. But he never said that, because if he'd have gone to that farrier conference and said, oh, horses have no heels, they'd have laughed him to scorn. Okay. Let's see here. So I got Gene Obenek's. Okay, here you go. Here's one thing. This is the difference. Right here. This is Gene Obenek's research here. This is Jackson's research here. This is the foot Gene Obenek drew. This is the foot Jackson drew. The bulb would be up here on Obenek's. The bulb is clear down here on the ground. Well, I marked the hairline. See there? Okay, this is the foot that wound up being the centerfold model that we were all supposed to trim our horse's foot into. This was the rear foot on that mare that died in a BLM roundup that he never saw move. And this is the front foot of that mare. How come this didn't become the poster hoof? Look at the heel. See, in the pictures we see on the internet, they don't show the heel. See, he marked the heel here. He marked the heel there. What are these? They're called underrun heels, right? Have you ever noticed how in the barefoot land, people go crazy over underrun heels? Oh, you got to take those heels down. They're underrun. You got to take those heels back. They're underrun. See? Let's see. So I got, let's see, Gene's pictures here. Now, he says in his book that, okay, this is from Les's book. This is Les showing, this is a hoof gauge. that farriers use. Okay. Now this is a picture out of Les's book. So Jackson claims that when he went into the BLM corrals, that this hoof gauge, well, these magical, mystical, designed by nature, Mother Nature feet, that you couldn't use a hoof gauge on them, and that's why he had to go invent his hoof meter reader. All right. So, he knew full well of these. The fancy hoof gauge the farriers use won't work on Mother Nature's foot. Okay, now let me show you. Just a minute here. Did I show you that? Did I show you that? I probably didn't. Okay, so that's in Les's book. Now let me go back. I was hoping that when I clicked into a picture that it would enlarge itself, but it didn't. So hold on here. Okay, I don't think I have Jean's pictures in here. I gotta go somewhere else. Probably under the G's. Let's see, new share. Now remember, I want you to remember this, that Jackson said those hoof gauges the farriers use don't work on these magical wild feet that are formed by Mother Nature. Okay. Gee. See, it's just all these contradictions that get to you. Okay, Jean, I just seen your pictures the other day. Okay, here you go. This is a picture of these are Gene Ovanek's pictures. He has pictures of the feet he did. Okay. Right here. What's he using? Same thing, right? Okay. So you still don't know what Jackson's little meter reader is. So I'll find you a picture of that. Say he couldn't use this to determine the angle on the foot of these wild horses he studied. That is what he says in his book. That's when the idea of the hoof meter reader came into play. Like I said, I bought one just so I have one so I can do some demonstrations on how it works, because it is the most awkward thing. In fact, it's so awkward that now he's made a box thing that you can put on the top of your stand he wants to sell you. So you put your foot up on a board of a box thing to then be able to take your little hoof meter reader and put it up to the dorsal wall. Let's see, here's another one.
So did they try using this hoof gauge thing on the other horses and it didn't work, or what? Because it looks fine on that one.
Oh, it is fine. It is fine. Here it is again. No, this is what Jackson claimed. It wasn't a they, it was a he. He claimed that when he went into the Litchfield corrals, that these feet were such an anomaly that he couldn't use something like this. He had to go invent his hoof meter reader. Okay?
Looks fine to me.
Yeah, it is. That's because it is fine. That's because he's full of it. Okay, so I want to show you what a hoof meter reader is. Just a second here. Oh, well, probably this second. See, if you get on his site, he's invented a box, flat board to attach to the stand he sells you, that you set your horse's foot way up high on a box. Like when you take a horse and put his foot up on a stand. Well, now he's invented a box he'll sell you that you can attach to the top of your hoof stand that's got a flat surface that you can put your horse's foot on. Then you take your cute little meter reader and you put it up there to read the foot. So let me find a meter reader. His awesome little meter reader here is just a second here. I'm sorry if I'm being sarcastic, but it's so freaking ridiculous. I can't stand it. Just a second here. hoof meter reader. Da-da-da. New share. This thing. He said he had to go invent this to be able to study those wild horse hooves because a regular hoof gauge that farriers use won't work on the natural hoof. But what I just showed you is that's what Gene Ovanek used on the wild horse hooves he studied. Where is the problem? See, it's just all baloney is what it is. So that's the hoof meter reader. Now, how easy is that? You got to get down on the ground. You got to have a flat surface like this. You could just pick up the horse's foot and use that other thing. Okay, you got to put the foot on the ground. You got to bend way down. Hopefully, you ain't going to strike you in the head, you know. And he had to do this while the horse's feet were tied together, stretched way out one way by one rider and way out the other by another. And so he says he took a clipboard and he put it up to the bottom of the foot, and then he took his little invention, his hoof meter reader, to read the wall, because he said a farrier gauge would not work. Okay, now he didn't know that this guy was going to be doing some research at some point too and using the very thing he said did not work. Now, are you getting what I'm saying here? So this is Gene Ovanek's wild horse research. He has photos. He used a regular hoof gauge. You see the rope here? That's because that horse is stretched out. So it's
New
not.
share, Linda. New share.
Sorry, new share. Thank you. Did you see the hoof meter reader? Did I share it?
Yeah, we saw the meter reader.
Okay. So here, let's go back to here. This is Gene Ovanek doing the same kind of research on the same kind of horses using the farrier hoof gauge that Jackson said mysteriously just will not work on those mysterious nature design wild horse anomalies that he was studying. See, so there's Gene using one there. There's Gene using one there. This is a picture of the same hoof. See what Gene do? He took a board that was painted, and then he put the board on the bottom of the foot to see, he wanted to see which parts looked like they would bear weight. And the reason is because the farriers are taught that none of this is supposed to bear any weight at all. Well, except a frog. Okay. And that the horse is to be set on the wall alone. So this is such a dogma within farriery that he wanted to know, he said it was refreshing to find out that whoever designed these feet didn't design these parts to basically no avail, that they were useful. They were supposed to bear weight. So what he found is that then on all of them, there were main places they bore weight in the heels and at the sides of the toe here. So this is another picture. This is another picture of a foot, wild horse foot. There's the rope. See it? You got two guys on horseback. They come in, they rope the front feet and the back feet, and they stretch that horse out. The vet comes in, gives it shots, gilds it, they brand it, and then Gene would go in there and take a painted board and slap it to the bottom of the foot, and then take a measurement with the hoof gauge. Here again, Wild horse feet. This is, here we go. This is a picture that Gene had. This is 86, 87. Jackson claimed he did his research. Well, he said he never even went into the corrals till 1983. See, got to look at those timelines again. Because you know what? Be aware when you see contradictions in people. You ever known somebody like that? That every time they opened their mouth, they contradicted what they told you last time? See, beware contradictions. So the hoof capsule reshapes itself in response to environmental forces. Well, yeah, duh. Okay. That's just normal. Okay. So there is another picture of jeans, 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 jeans. I don't know what I got here. Got to be careful. You never know what I might run into. Might have a squirrel caught by the cojones on a bird feeder. So again, this is all Gene's research pictures. Not one photo that I could find in any of these 3 editions of the natural horse where he said he did over 1,000 feet. Only one we got for an example is that ugly, worn out, dead foot. These are all on live horses, by the way. Live horse. And so Gene invented the natural balance horseshoes and horseshoeing system. See, he wrote this. And anyway, so there you go. And so everybody should read this by him. This man, I have no question. I don't agree with some of the conclusions he came to, like the toe callus issue. You know, he thought he saw a toe callus, but the reason for that is because farriers were taught that the foot is only concave. And so when he saw buildup of sole here, he just assumed it was a toe callus, but it wasn't. We know what it is. It was a sole ridge. It was, let's see, it was this thing here. Just a minute. Was this right here? That's a sole ridge. This is probably most amazing foot I've ever seen. That is like the most amazing sole ridge I have ever come across, ever. You know, and look how wide the back of the foot is there. So that's pretty amazing right there that we can see that, you know. So anyway, I don't agree with Jackson's research. I question it from the top down and the bottom up. Where are the pictures? If I could see pictures that might alleviate some of my, what would you call it? Some of my doubts and stuff. Now here is an interesting thing in talking to Emery. At first I thought he had seen some of these mini dissections and everything else. And then I realized that the dissections he was talking about were the same 2 that are on Pete Ramey's page. And Emery said that barefoot trimming, a lot of it did not work for him. You know, that taking the heels down like that did not work. So even though, you know, he believes in Jackson's research, he still says that the trim did not work for him, was not practical in all horses. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, anyway. just a bit of delving into the history of how we all wound up here. You know, what these people did, the decisions they make have directly affected our lives. So we have a right to know, you know, did they really do the research they said they did? You know, how did they come to their conclusions? That's really it. How did they come to their conclusions? You know, you just can't take one foot off a dead wild horse and swore its heels out and say, oh, that's it. That's the foot all horses have, because it is not the foot that all horses have, as we know. So just a minute here. Okay, so new share. Okay, so I posted this. At the time when these men did their research, there were no pictures of horses' feet. But you notice those pictures I showed you of Gene Ovanix, they all had heel. None of them had the bulbs on the ground, like what Jackson propounds. Okay, and so then if we get here, see, it's interesting. As I said, there were already holes in farriery, or there would have been no opening for somebody like Jackson to come along and claim that it's nature alone that forms the hoof, and it's just a magical mystery tour, and we can't understand it. So let's just look at a few wild horse hooves here. Maybe. Let's see, new share. I don't know why this isn't letting me look. Oh, but it's because I'm in the wrong deal. Just a minute here. Here we go. Okay, new share. Okay. So here's his dead wild horse foot. Rear foot, remember, rear foot, and we all know rear feet are different than front feet, right? But now you've got the whole world trying to put this rear foot on all these horses that have a foot that's like that and have a foot like that on the inside. And so in order to get this foot here on this foot, you have to do this to the internal foot, and you have to strip out the frog, strip out the sole, deform the whole digital cushion, and wear down the coffin bone, because the coffin bone on this horse here is deformed. So here you go. I'm going to read this. Jamie Jackson, author, The Natural Trim, Principles and Practice. The foot from a wild, free-roaming mare living in the U.S. Great Basin who died during a BLM gather in the late 1980s. Huh? The late 1980s? Now, wait a minute. Uh-oh. I thought he did his research in 1982 to 86. So, and he was first there and did 1,000 horses in 1983 that we don't have any pictures of. And so he's been given this foot by BLM. He never saw this mare. He probably never saw her body. I don't know. He just says the BLM gave him the feet, right? He says all 4 of her feet were preserved through a freeze drying process and are used for educational purposes by Jamie Jackson. Photo by Jamie Jackson. Well, he didn't have a problem taking a photo of this foot. Where are all the pictures of the 1,000 horses? Or, 1,000 feet, 500 sets. Healthy hooves. This is called a healthy hoof. These are a couple of hooves which show what a horse's feet should look like It ought to tick you off that he did this. Who the hell was he to make that determination? He knew damn well what the feet in Emery's book looked like. Okay? So these are a couple of hooves which show what a horse's foot should look like. Like I told you, I tried to put this foot on my horse for over 7 years, and he was not good the whole time. In fact, he developed ulcers because of it. Why? Because he's in pain all the time. Horses can be inflammation and not limp. You know, we don't think they're in pain unless we see them limping around. Well, I'll tell you what, I have bad feet. My feet go into inflammation. I'm in pain, but I don't limp. When we take care of our horses, these models are what we need to what? Keep in mind. Keep in mind. What's it say down here? These hooves belonged to a hard-working, healthy wild horse, which regularly traveled 20 miles a day over varied rocky terrain. He never saw this horse. The feet were given to him by BLM, cut off and given to him. And I'm telling you what, I can see why he cut the leg off, because they were the ugliest thing you ever seen. You ought to see the picture in the book, how ugly bugly these feet were. Just a minute. Yeah, I gotta show you this. Freeze dried, whatever. Just a minute. Wait, I'll find it. I'll show you here. Just a second here. Where are we at? I'll go find him on Nook to see how ugly. Well, he might have took it off that version, so hold on. I'll take a picture of it and show you. Again, FU, fair use. Got it? Let's see. Okay. Okay, just a second here. Up to do. Oops, I got lost. Okay, you see these feet right here? Oh, wait a minute. Am I sharing?
Yep.
Okay. Lost it. Okay, there we go. Okay, you see them? How they cut that leg off of them?
There's a
Huh?
yeah, it's good.
Okay. These are the ugliest feet you'll ever want to see when the leg is attached. It's like I mean, no wonder this horse died in a roundup. You know, and there's other pictures I've seen where you see even more of the leg. And they were about the most deformed looking things you want to look at. But if you cut them off right there, then that takes away the fact that these feet were ugly bugly. Okay, that this horse had to been super old or something went on to screw these feet up this bad. So, he says heel length and heel angle tend to be the same for front and hind hooves. Oh, whatever. Thought they didn't have any heels, Jamie. Huh? Okay, so let's go back to here just a minute. I want to save image and enlarge it. Okay, new share. Okay, so let's enlarge this. Let's just look at this again. See, this is why I see stuff, because I read stuff over and over and over. I look at the same pictures over and over and over and over and over again. And every time I do, I hear something, I see something else that I did not see before. So we're just going to read this again. Remember, this horse was already dead. He was not in the roundup. He never saw it move, not a time. Okay, and this right here tells it all. This foot from a wild, free roaming mare living in the U.S. Great Basin who died during a BLM gather in the late 1980s. All 4 of her feet were preserved through a freeze-drying process and are used for educational purposes by Jamie Jackson. Photo by Jamie Jackson, who says he can't take photos, by the way. These are a couple of hooves which show what horses' feet should look like when we take care of our horses. These models are what we need to keep in mind. And down here, these hooves belong to a hard-working, healthy wild horse which regularly traveled 20 miles a day over varied rocky terrain. They never saw this horse. And so this is the image that was put in my head. This is the image that has been put in everybody out there's head. And they are torturing, maiming, and laming their horses, trying to force this foot on them. And it can cause navicular, it can cause mechanical laminitis, that some horses escape and seem fine. Well, this horse lived with that foot. Horses adapt. See, they adapt and they survive. This is a survival mode foot. This is not the foot that every horse should have or that you should force on horses. And we're going to look at some of them. Just a minute. Where are we at? Screen share. Okay, so here's Charles Russell in the 1800s. He paints a picture of 2 wild stallions fighting, and they got ample heel. They don't look like that one dead wild rear foot of a horse that wore its heels out. This is a wild mare in the same kind of country that he was in. Look at that, almost straight hairline. That's what General Xenophon said, who was before Alexander the Great, who took off over the whole world on barefoot horses, by the way. Okay, and said a horse's hooves should be high in front, there's the front, and high behind. Here's behind, with the frog high up off the ground. You know, these frogs can be low to the ground up here, but they're high up here. You got your whole frog stay up in here. See, the frog stay goes from here down into here. Again, this is a wild horse, but it has heel. Looky there, has heel, has nice extended cartilages. This horse here had heel. Another horse, look at the bulbs off the ground. Hairline, not on the ground. high in front and high behind. Hairline and bulbs off the ground. Harder to see. I might have a bigger picture here. This horse's bulbs are not on the ground. He has at least 2 inches of heel. And the huge, huge cartilages up here. I mean, amazing feet. This guy here, he's got at least 2 inches of heel. Again, these are wild horses. Maybe somebody got to run out there and catch them and trim their feet to bring those heels down because, oh my goodness, how they must be suffering. High in front, high behind. High in front, high behind. High hairline, lots of heel, steep dorsal wall. Instead, I'll tell you what happens is you trim the heels out and this all gets turned in and pulled down and crushed around, and it forces the toe to shoot out like that, to where instead of having the full support of the real foot back here, you got your heels right here and your toe clear out here. There's your heel. Hairline high, high in front, high behind. High in front, high behind. High in front, high behind. High hairline, not a 30-degree. See, they even teach you. And I tried this too, to take the heels down to where you have a 30-degree hairline, to where your hairline, instead of going clear up here, goes clear down like this. You can't hardly see these, but all these horses, if you take these photos and you zoom in, which I can't do here, they all have high hairline, high in front, high behind. And that's what Casanova said, in order to choose a war horse. I mean, my God. And they rode barefoot, people. They didn't put shoes on their horses. So he's talking about a good barefoot horse has a high hairline, high in front and high behind, lots of heel, bulbs off the ground. So if you zoom into these feet, you will find that this is exactly what all these horses have. We'll get up here. See, like I said, there were no pictures of wild horses back when Jackson claims he did his research. All these horses, this guy here, look at how old that guy is. I wonder how old that mare was, you know. And what they had is collapsed run forward heels on the back feet and on the front, but he wound up using the back foot because it more fit his own personal idea of what a foot should be. Because, see, he believed that they had to have a ground parallel coffin bone. He hooked up with Strasser over in Germany that taught that. She takes the coffin bone out of the foot, out of the flesh, out of the digital cushion, boils it to get all the meat off and throws it on a table and says, see there, coffin bones, ground parallel. Well, no, it's not. You put the bone in the foot and the sole corium gets thicker as it goes back towards the heel, and it elevates the coffin bone in the foot, not the capsule, in the foot itself. Without the capsule, the coffin bone is elevated to be higher in back than it is in front. High in front, high behind. Look at that foot. I wish I could enlarge it for you, but this is all I can do. You'll have to go through these pictures, to see how magnificent and different these feet are from the one he says we all need to put on our foot, our horse's feet. you know, I didn't spend that much time finding all these pictures, by the way. This poor horse died, prolapsed, or well, died having a foal up in Canada. And these are wild horses from different areas around the United States and Canada. Yeah, look at the high hairlines on this gal here. Okay, here's a dead one. Look at the heel here. Look at how the frog, see, a lot of times this frog skin will stick down to the heel, clear down to here. And so all they're looking at is this. They're not looking at the distance from here to here. And so people will look at this and they'll look at this little corner that's covered up by skin and they'll go, oh, look how low the heels are. Well, no, they're not. They're not taught to look at the whole foot, to look not only at this area, but above the hairline, which is also part of the foot in the cartilages. See, all this up here is part of the foot too. Yeah, this horse had absolutely magnificent feet. Look at the heel there. See, but look, you see how the periopal and frog skin here is attached right there? So all you're seeing is just this little piece here. Well, this heel goes clear up to here. All this is heel right in here. It's just covered with periopal skin. Because the periopal skin in these horses' feet will attach to the heels and grow down with the heels. So you don't think there's any heel there. Okay, well, there's that Charles Russell's wild horse stallions, wild stallions fighting, and that's how he drew their feet back in the 1800s. High in front, high behind, high hairline, lots of heel. The same. High in front, high behind. High in front, high behind. It's covered over by some hair. Here you can see high in front, high behind, lots of heel, very steep dorsal wall. I mean, that is a foot. But we're not used to seeing that. We're used, they've put a deformed image in our heads. High in front, high behind, high in front, high behind. The same, the same, the same, the same. This is the true foot of the horse. And these horses live in a lot of these ones I've taken pictures of. I haven't taken the pictures, they were taken by somebody else, but that I hijacked off the internet. Okay. Fair use, by the way. They live in a place where they can also get into the water. Look, this one you can see he's got notches. High in front, high behind, high in front, high behind. They're magnificent. This is the true foot of the horse. Yeah, where's his pictures? Where are your pictures, Jamie? We would like to see some. This poor thing died. I don't know if they died in a drought or what. Who knows? Over there in Australia, maybe they got shot. That's what they're doing over there, shooting them. Hey, Chris Pollitt, why don't you go get some feet off of these horses? He's as bad as the rest of them. High in front, high behind, lots of cartilage. This one amazes me. This foot has a straight hairline and her heels in back are as high as her dorsal wall. I love this guy. What a character. What an old codger. Look at that head. I love that head. Look at those feet. I feel sorry for wild horses that get adopted by people who have been brainwashed by the research of Jamie Jackson into thinking that horses shouldn't have heels. You know, I feel sorry for people who have been persuaded that this is the foot they should put on their horse. I feel sorry for all the people who've had to put their horses down by trying to put a foot on their horse that their horse was never meant to have. I feel sorry for professionals who have been convinced that this is what they should try and put on their clients' horses. And then when things go south, they've been taught to make up excuses. It's diet. It's diet. No, you're trying to transition these horses' feet into a model they were never meant to have. See, that wild horse that has them other feet, okay, horses adapt. So yeah, they can wear down their feet and everything will adapt and tighten up to try and hold the hoof capsule on. But that's not the foot they were meant to have. That's a distortion. And those feet that have been put into people's minds are a distortion. There you go. I mean, how many you got to see, right? Okay, so we're back where we started. So this, and this horse here, 5 weeks post trim, living adopted wild horse. This horse here, 5 weeks post trim. Okay, he needed some toe taken down a bit and some heel added here. But look at the difference. Okay. Well, anyway, someday this guy, some of these people, gonna go from being famous to being infamous because the truth is gonna get out, and it doesn't matter what they do or what they say or how they try and stop it. It is going to get out, just like hand washing with Ignaz Schimmelweiss. They may have laughed him to scorn. They may have, drummed him out of their company. He may have died in a mental institution. But today, those guys wash their hands. How about that? And so we're probably all alive because of that. So somebody come on here and hear this go, what is she talking about? I'm talking about the history of hand washing. How many people died because doctors wouldn't wash their hands before a guy named Ignaz Schimmelweiss figured out that these doctors going across the street and cutting up cadavers and then coming over here and doing pelvic exams probably wasn't the best thing to do. And so then women were getting this thing called childbed fever and dying in droves. Like the death rate for pregnant women was high. Okay. All right. So any comments on any of that?
We certainly know what kind of feet we don't want.
Yeah, we do, don't we? You think we have a right to know this stuff?
Definitely.
Yeah. You think we have a right to know that the statements of these people, we don't just have to swallow it hook, line, and sinker and just go through it. Okay, whatever you say. Where are your pictures? I want to see the pictures. I want to see all the photographs of those 1,000 feet. Okay, that you say look just like that one horse's foot. I want to see it. Okie doke. So, even here, look here. Okay, on our hoof group, this foot here, here's an internal foot. How are you going to fit that foot into that capsule? You're telling people that got horses like with feet like this, that would have an internal foot like this, that this foot here is supposed to look like this. So what do you start to do? You start to trim down the heel. What's that do? Pulls down the back of the foot, and this heel here, it starts to shove it forward. Ooh, run forward heels. And eventually it shoves it up and it crushes it. It will take this heel here, it will shove it forward and up and flatten it to fit it in that ugly foot, that ugly deformed foot. And it will make the capsule smaller so that then, you know, you're going to have to twist and mangle this foot to get it into that capsule. Okay.
Svetlana messaged that she's on the Zoom thing, but she doesn't have a microphone speaker that works, but it's okay to use the pictures. She must have
Okay.
posted something earlier.
Okay, yeah, I posted something earlier and I said we go through that foot. So that's what we're going to end with. We're going to do a hoof evaluation. Da-dum. I think, who was it for again?
Svetlana?
That's right. Sorry. Good on feet, kind of bad on name sometimes, dear. Okay, let's find that foot here. Up, here we go. Okay. All right, so we're going to do a hoof evaluation. I wish you had a microphone. Well, I'll read this here. Hello, everyone. I'm 3 months of restoring Scooby's feet, but had a three weeks of bed rest due to the bad flu. We don't mention its name anymore. Oh yeah, I do. The China virus. And toes on all four started the crack lines due to so much pressure on the toe and its quarters. I think did the wall measurements and was all the same height around center line and 2 inches out here and over here. Out in the center line, 9 cm. Uh-oh, you're using that measurement.
Goes to
Okay,
inches too, I can see.
Where's my,
In the parentheses,
bless
it's
your,
inches.
bless your heart.
Hooray!
Bless your heart. Thank you. 9 cm, which is 3.5 inches, and 3.7 inches. See more. Hopefully I caught it in time and will keep filing down the height as he has a good sole there. I'm excited to see the feet started to rise from the ground at the heel area and horn tubules. Awesome. Horn tubules following. Last 3 days been slowly filing down the toe, quarters, and quarters down. Good. Sharpening my knives, it's been failing me terribly. Yeah, join the club. We see, because we're not farriers, we just aren't good knife sharpeners, you know. And so maybe that's a good thing, because then we won't, like, you know, slice a tendon off our own self. They say that a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. I don't know how they get that. You know, but okay. I'm sharpening my knives, been failing me terribly, but managed to trim some frog on all 4 hooves. Still a bit unsure of how much to trim, so to be safe, do a little. That's okay. Here are some photos after first trim. Did more filing today in those areas as hoof wall already dropped. Good. And I released it 2 days ago. Didn't have time to measure, but simply by looking at it, I can see the 2-inch area from center line looks visibly shorter. Wait a minute. Just a minute. And the center line. Not sure what that means, but just a second. Hold on here. My throat gets dry and I have to cough a lung up. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me? It's Svetlana.
Oh, hi. You finally got a microphone.
Yeah, thanks to my son.
That's awesome.
So about the 2 inches, so I filed one diet down and come back in 2 days. And in 2 days, I didn't have the time to measure, but I could see that center line looks visibly bigger than the 2 inches away from the center line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right
So
there.
the toe quarters dropped a little bit already. Remember you said that they will, if you keep filing them down, the top line will drop.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you see this drop at all over here?
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yeah, in 2
Okay,
days,
yeah.
it actually visibly looks shorter than the center line.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I see what you're saying. Okay, it's still a little hard to hear you, just so you know.
Oh, okay. I can speak louder.
Okay, and plus I have tinnitus, like super bad, like I have constant screaming in my ears.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it's not, but I'm just thankful I got a one-track mind so that I block it out most of the time, you know. And
Yeah.
it's like when my mom used to be talking to me and I was watching television, I could never hear her. So it's kind of like that. So I'm lucky in that regard. I wouldn't want to be, some people really, I mean, it drives them totally crazy. But when I first got it, I decided earlier on, that's it. It's there. I ain't going to sweat it. So, okay. So what you're doing is really good. I really like the bevel that I'm seeing you put on here. That's just perfect. You know, not too much, not too little, just right.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job. Now, of course, this foot is very bound in the back. And are
Yeah.
you understanding what bound, how these feet are bound?
Oh, yes. I can see it.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a picture because I talked to somebody today, earlier, Sandra Lucas, and she has she has what you call a high-low. Well, one foot that looks real clubby and bound like this, and then one that just is real flat and long-toed kind of. And let's see here. Let me get this enlarged and let me change new share, because I wanted to share something about what we were talking about and looking at this foot. So this was on in June, okay, and this is in July. Now what happened was, where she's at, which I can't remember where she lives, but it's not America, but wherever she is, the Netherlands, I should remember that because we had quite a conversation. She lives in the Netherlands and it really rained there. And so the horse wound up having to like basically live in mud up to her ankles here, up to her pasterns for like 2 or 3 weeks. But it worked out really good because if you look at this picture, I'm going to save this image here, maybe get it bigger so we can look at it. Just a second. Okay, new share. Okay, this is where she started, and look at the difference. Can you see the difference in how this foot got bigger after the rain? Anyway, how the cartilage came unbound more and the foot got bigger. The shape of the dorsal wall changed as well. Sometimes I like to start and look at them small and look at them at different sizes. See? So moisture is key. And when we were looking at this foot, I realized something, like it hadn't been that long. Like this is 620 and this is 718. So during that time, that horse was in mud. And what I found, these feet, it's like they roll in. They roll in, the cartilage, the bulbs, everything. It's like it gets twisted and rolled in around like this. And what I saw and what I think I'm seeing here is actually the foot grew more because it got moisture, and it literally unrolled some. Are you understanding kind of
Yeah.
what I'm meaning?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, and I just thought this was really cool, but that was because it got that moisture. Now, let's look at a couple more of her pictures, because I thought she trimmed something, but she hadn't. What it was because the foot got the moisture, the frog absorbed it and it made the foot expand. So I want you to see some other pictures here. Wrong way.
We had a rainy, probably a few weeks ago, we had rains non-stop, and his crop was very nice and supple and it's spongy. Where now we have 2 weeks of no rain or just a little drizzles. And as I'm saying, I'm trying to trim the frog, but it's got dry, hard, so even make me more worried that I will cut something wrong.
Yeah.
But it's very dry and yeah.
Okay, so she said she did not trim this. This is what the horse did because of all the moisture.
Wow.
See how that opened up back here?
Yep.
And I thought that was really interesting. So you could see how this could unroll, and release all that cartilage and stuff. Now, how is your horse kept? Is he out in the pasture or?
Yeah, on the pasture, on the grass.
Okay.
And he has two dams, and in between, he actually has to go through the water, which is probably helping a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really helpful. Okay. Now I'm going to go new share. Yeah, so the more moisture you can get, because see, this happened to me. I noticed that my horse's cartilages would really expand in the wet season and then shrink up in the dry season. And that's when I started figuring out that, oh, this periopal had something to do with that. Okay, so like here, you can really see that his bulbs are twisted around and pulled into the foot like that.
Yep. Yeah, those bars, I don't understand much about it. So what I'm doing, I'm just basically leveling to the sole level.
Yeah.
He keep growing a little bumps where you can see the white now, and I just keep trimming at all these lumps.
Yeah.
Do I do the right thing?
Have you ever heard of these sole rasps?
Sole rust?
I wonder if you can get them where you're at. Now, where are you at again?
Sydney, Australia.
Oh, okay. I bet you can get them then. Here. Okay, so I just did this whole big thing on Leslie Emery. And so I'm going to show you here. Let's see, sole rasp.
Actually, I've got one, but it's very noisy and he's still getting used to it.
Okay, you mean like this?
Oh,
wait.
No.
New share. Let me new share it. Oh,
I've got the one on the batteries like you have.
Oh, okay. Well, see, these things are great too, and stuff, because they don't make a noise. See, like that, and so you can really clean up the sole and the bars. See, bar and sole rasp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this would be ideal. I'll show you here.
Oh, thank you for that. I never seen that before.
Yeah, and I have never used one, but I know people that have, and they
Mhm.
work great because look, you can actually trim the bars as well,
Mhm.
you know. So anyway, this is Leslie Emery, the one that wrote the book that we talked about earlier. This is his invention. I mean, this guy, he is just really, really super smart person. So maybe you could try that. I bet they sell them over there.
Yeah, I'm sure because even if they don't sell it here, I can get it over the internet anyway.
Yeah. He he invented all these the radius rasp, okay, to do your Mustang roll, which we don't do, but it still might be handy to do a small bevel, you know. But he invented all these tools specifically for barefoot trimming. I thought that was pretty cool.
So looking at my pictures, he needs sole rasping.
Yeah, his sole does need rasped. It needs cleaned out
Uh-huh.
so that the foot can expand. The bars have to be trimmed up more. And see, because here's the thing, is that bar material, which here, just a minute, let me do it, make sure I'm on the right page. Okay, so let me do an annotate here. Do yellow. So the bars, so you have what's called the white line, which is really yellow when it's good and clean, that comes and goes like that. Okay. And
Mhm.
so this, you could trim like the wall, but this part could keep growing and grow over the whole sole and up like that too. In fact, the 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 bar, just like the wall, okay, the wall has different layers. Let's see. And
He,
so then you get the
he has
black.
he has separation of the wall in those areas.
Yeah. Yeah, and he will until you unbind the back of the foot.
Yeah.
Because when the back of the foot is pulled in like this, it's actually bending the foot so that uh, the wall is not growing down and connecting with the sole right here.
Yeah.
And it won't until you get the back of this foot unbound because it bends the internal foot so that nothing is connected the way it should be. And so as soon as you get, so you're releasing this foot and you got a more supple frog and these bulbs start to come out this way,
Mhm.
okay, then that's going to take all that anatomy in that frog and pull it back this way. And that's going to see, because all of this is pushing up into the coffin joint in here, and it's bending, it bends the literal foot. Like here, I can show you an example of what I mean. Just a minute here. Let's see. Ah. Oh, let's see. I think I showed a picture to her of this. Maybe not. Nope. I'm gonna have to look for it somewhere else. Just a second. Ah, just a second. Well, I might be able to find it, and I might not. I might not know where it's at. Let's see. Anyway, I got a picture of how these feet bend to give you an example. but I guess I'm forgetting where I put it. Oh, here it is. Okay, there you go. So in this case,
Oh, yes. I've seen that one.
What'd you say?
I said, I've seen that picture, yes.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
this back of the foot gets pulled down and pushed forward, well, it bends the foot like this and stuff. So the more you release this, well, then look, the wall that's supposed to grow, where am I at here? Let me get a different color. Okay, so the lamina that's supposed to grow here and connect to the internal foot, and then it joins up with the sole right here, and then it grows to the ground, and that's what gives you a tight white line right here. See, where the wall and the sole are joined together. And so when the foot is bent like this part of the lamina is growing this way, and it can't join up with the sole correctly. That's why you have separation in that area. And so as soon as you unbind the foot and this foot starts moving back this way and it flattens out again like this, then you won't have that separation in the quarters that you see now. But it's all dependent on unbinding the back of that foot so it's not bent here. Okay. Okay, let's go back. Let's see, screen share. Okay, so if there's any way you could, spend some time out there with this horse and it doesn't matter. You could, what I do is I put a couple of socks on their foot and then a plastic bag and secure it with duct tape and then pour water and hair conditioner or fabric softener in there and let them soak for 2 or 3 hours. And that might soften up a lot of this stuff. See, I'll put bags. If we even put bags or anything on the horse's feet that would hold water, you could soak them for a week. See, that loosens up so much and gets stuff to grow, but I would try getting one of them rasps if you can. So
Yes,
because I think that'll really help you clean this up, and that's going to help with the overall everything. And then if you can get some water in there and soften this up and start getting down to what isn't hard, dead, petrified frog. See, getting down to live frog. That'll help too. Okay. Is there anything else for now?
No, he's got this little thing, the periopal, where you go down on this picture. On this picture.
This picture here. Well, here's another thing too. Okay, is you don't want to overdo in here too much until you're releasing some of the back of that foot to take the pressure off of this.
What about those cracks at the front? See those developing 2 cracks?
Yeah. That's just periopal tubules. You're talking about this right here?
No, on the bottom. On the bottom.
Oh, right there?
Yeah, that. And on the other side. Yeah, and on the other side of the center line.
Okay, and that is from all the pressure on the toe that the back of the foot being bound is creating. So I wouldn't worry about that because as you release the back of the foot, it's going to release a lot of the pressure going on internally that's causing these cracks. I would not worry about that.
Okay.
I would just try and get as much moisture as I could to the foot and get the frog apex trim back especially, and start, trimming on that frog, getting moisture to it, to where you finally get down to live frog. Because I think you're still at dead. You know what petrified is?
Yes, yes, that's what it looks like now. It's very shriveled and dried and very hard.
Yeah, because it's old and dead, and it's been old and dead for a long time. And a lot of it too is just periopal, that's grown over. And that stuff is so hard, that periopal skin. You can wind up with the whole frog where the periopal just grew over the whole thing. The periopal should be on the bulbs, and the purpose is to try and hold the foot together, which it does a good job at, But you don't worry about the crack. It's not going to go anywhere. And just worry about getting moisture and getting that sole and bar and frog cleaned up.
Well, thank you, Linda. I will do my best.
Hey, well, thank you for sharing with us, and I look forward to seeing your progress.
Yes, hopefully we'll get some rain season here too in spring.
Okay, dear. Okay, everybody. Okay. Well, I think hey, you're sure welcome. I think that's it, unless anybody has a question or anything they want to say. You be like that guy on Network. Anybody ever watch that movie? Network?
No.
Okay. Well, here. We've got to see this. Yeah. Okay, now I want you to remind you the last time that Jamie Jackson was in Wild Horse Country. I'll have to find it and play it on here for you. He says he came to a cliff and a dark shadow came over him, and it told him, you need to get the hell out of here. Your life is about to change. So take that for what it's worth, folks.
Dark shadow, huh?
Yeah, a dark shadow came over him. He talks about it in this video. Your life's about to change. And then he tells the gal, and you know what I started charging when I came out? Pretty proud of that he charged people out the yang to do his wild horse trim. I'd like to know what was talking to him out there. So, is it a religion or is it science, people? You decide. So science, you know what we base our principles on? Structural mechanics, structural engineering. That's what. Geometry. That's not sacred geometry. Throw that in the trash. Okay? That's a religion. If I wanted a religion, I'd go to church, which I used to. But if I want a religion, if I want spirituality, that's one thing. The horse's foot shouldn't have nothing to do with that. Okay? That's anatomy. That's anatomy. Keep your spiritual life spiritual, and science, science. But here's what happens a lot of times, especially with nature worship, they start mixing the two. And then you don't wind up not knowing what's what. Okay, so I was going to show you, network. Here we go. Where is that? Network scene. Here we go. This is a...
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody...
A minute. This is a famous movie scene. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. New share. Okay, good.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations does this go out?
You've got to get mad.
67.
You've got to say,
I know it goes to Louisville and Atlanta.
I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Who are you talking to, Herb?
CGG, Atlanta.
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Herb?
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Ted?
But first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
They're yelling in Baton Rouge.
Get up out of your chair.
Son of a bitch! We struck the mother lode!
Stick your head out of the window, open it, and stick your head out and keep yelling and yell, I'm as mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore. Just get up from your chairs right now. Go to
Where
the
you
window.
going? I want to see if anybody's
Just go
yelling.
to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell and keep yelling. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna
I'm not going to take it anymore.
I'm
I'm mad as hell.
mad as hell! I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take this anymore! I'm mad as hell!
I'm mad as hell. I'm mad as hell. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
I love that scene. Anyway, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And I'm not going to lay down for this faulty, phony research that about put my horse in his grave. And one way or another, the truth will come out that horses have heels. And this abomination that's been going on for 270 years, maiming, laming, and killing these horses with this false doctrine of frog pressure will someday be history. All right. Well, y'all have a great week, and we'll be seeing you.
Thank you. That was a pretty cool movie clip. I hadn't seen the movie. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was really famous from a long time ago. God bless everybody. You're awesome.
Good night, Linda.
Good night.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda. Bye.
You're welcome, hon. Bye. Good night, John boy.
Night, Mary Ellen.
Bye. Bye, ladies.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Bye, Mary Ellen. Night, Grandpa. God, the good old days, man. The good old days.
Life was so simple back then.
Wasn't it? We didn't know, did we? Of course, they were working behind the scenes even then to jack us all around, but oh well.
Right. I don't
Bye,
see it getting
everybody.
any better.
Yeah, no, but we know there's a plan.
We know there's a plan and we know the planner.
Yeah, we sure do. Okay. God bless everybody. Bye.
Good night.
Let's see. How do I get out of here? Let's see.
Bye, Linda.
Bye.